At the surprise engagement party I threw for my girlfriend, I found her kissing another man in the backyard, minutes before I was about to propose. When I caught her, she smirked and said, "You're stable. He's exciting." I took the microphone, announced the broken engagement, and handed the ring to her shocked father before walking out. I'm 34 and live near Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm not flashy or dramatic. I work as a logistics manager at a distribution center. I like routines. I'm the guy people call when they need help moving or need someone to feed their cat. I show up. I don't cheat. I pay bills. I'm not someone people usually write stories about. But this has been eating me alive. So I'm writing it down. Her name was Madeline. We met at a friend's party. She was different from anyone I'd ever been with. She was wild, creative, a little all over the place, but in a way that made you want to know more. She had this smile that made people stop and look. She could walk into any room and become the center without trying. I thought I was the lucky one. She told me I made her feel safe. That I calmed her down. She said I was her home. We moved in together after about a year and a half. I bought this older house in Wake Forest and started fixing it up. She helped pick out colors and decorations. I gave her the garage to turn into an art studio. I built shelves for her paints and cameras. I thought we were building a life together. She told me she wanted to marry me someday. We talked about kids. Not too many, maybe 2. She wanted a garden. She wanted to teach our kids to paint. So I started planning. She always said she hated big proposals. She didn't want a camera in her face or some public scene. But I wanted to do something that felt meaningful. I decided to throw what looked like a regular backyard party. She thought it was just a barbecue with friends and family. But it was actually a surprise engagement party. I spent months on it. I invited everyone she loved. Her parents flew in from Oregon. Her best friend Casey helped with the guest list. I hired a small band she loved. Got food from her favorite taco truck. Set up lights in the backyard. Spent 2 weekends fixing the fence and pressure washing the patio. I even practiced what I was going to say. I wanted it to be perfect. And the ring, I didn't go to a chain store. I found a jeweler in Asheville who sold vintage rings. I bought a green emerald ring from the 1940s because she once said diamonds were boring and cold. Everything was set. But that day, Madeline wasn't acting right. She was quiet. Said she had a headache. Said she wasn't in the mood to be around a lot of people. I thought maybe she was just overwhelmed. I told her she could sneak off and rest if she needed to, and I'd handle things. She kept disappearing during the party. Her best friend Casey was trying to keep things on schedule, but I could tell something was off. I figured maybe she was just nervous. Maybe she guessed what was coming. I was wrong. About 20 minutes before I was supposed to give my speech, I went looking for her. I didn't want to delay too long and have people wondering what was up. She wasn't in the house. I checked the side yard. Nothing. Then I walked through the back gate toward the far end of the yard. That's when I heard voices behind the trellis near the ivy-covered fence. I looked around the corner. She was kissing a guy. Not just kissing, like full-on, grabbing him, laughing between kisses, like they'd done this before. Like they had a thing. I froze. It took me a second to realize who the guy was. Adrian. He works at this bar downtown she always went to with her art friends. I met him once. He gave her a long hug while I was standing right there. She told me he was just a friend who appreciated good tattoos. I stood there for maybe 5 seconds before she noticed me. She didn't look shocked. She didn't apologize. She smirked. Like she'd been caught doing something mischievous, not cruel. Then she looked me straight in the eye and said, "You're stable. He's exciting." That hit me in the gut. Like I was a piece of furniture. Like I was a car with good mileage and no personality. I didn't say a word. I just turned around and walked back to the party. People were gathered. The music was playing. The lights were on. Everyone was smiling, laughing, waiting for me to speak. I took the mic from the band. Everyone got quiet. I said, "Thanks everyone for coming. I really mean that." I had a whole speech prepared. I was going to ask Madeline to marry me tonight. There was a cheer from someone in the back. But I held up my hand and kept going. I just found her in the backyard kissing another man. Complete silence. Her mom looked like she'd been slapped. Her dad stood up and looked around for her. She told me I'm stable, and he's exciting. So I guess there's nothing left to say. I reached into my pocket, pulled out the ring box, walked over to her dad, and handed it to him. "Maybe you can return it. I'm done." And I left. I didn't go home that night. I drove around Raleigh for hours. No music. No calls. Just me, the sound of my tires, and the feeling like someone had ripped something out of my chest. I ended up at a cheap motel off the highway and slept like a corpse. When I woke up, I had 28 missed calls and over 100 texts. Half were from Madeline. The others were from her friends, her parents, even some of my friends who were still trying to figure out what the hell happened. Casey sent me a long message telling me she was so sorry and that she had no idea. Her dad called 3 times and left a voicemail asking to talk. He sounded heartbroken. "Madeline?" Her first few texts were short, "Please talk to me. It's not what you think." Then later, "I didn't mean for it to happen this way. You embarrassed me in front of everyone." That one hit me hard. She was embarrassed. I stayed in that motel for 2 nights. No one knew where I was. I didn't answer anything. I needed space. I needed to think. When I finally went back to the house, I found her there, sitting on the porch, waiting for me like nothing happened. She looked like hell. Eyes puffy, hair messy, wearing my old hoodie. I almost drove away. But I parked and walked up. I wanted to see if she had anything real to say. She stood up fast. "I messed up," she said. "I didn't plan it. It just happened. We've been talking for a while, but I swear nothing physical happened until recently." "You kissed him at our party," I said. "At the party I threw to propose to you." She started crying. I was scared. "You're good to me," but I started feeling trapped. I didn't want a ring. I didn't want a mortgage. I didn't want to be boring. That word again. Boring. I asked her how long it had been going on. She said a couple months. Said they met for drinks a few times. That sometimes they'd just talk in his car. She swore she didn't sleep with him yet. But I didn't believe her. And even if it was true, the line had already been crossed long ago. I told her to pack her stuff and be gone by the end of the week. She begged. Said we could fix it. Said couples survive worse. She even blamed me, said I was too passive, and that she felt like I wasn't excited about life anymore. I laughed in her face. "You didn't feel excited because I was busy building our life while you were out kissing bartenders." She didn't cry again. She just got quiet and walked inside. The next week was hell. I stayed at a friend's place while she moved out. She took everything she could claim, her art supplies, her books, a bunch of stuff I paid for but didn't want to fight over. The house felt cold when I came back. Empty walls. Blank shelves. Like she had scrubbed herself out of it. I thought that would be the end. But I was wrong. She started showing up at places I went. At first, I thought it was coincidence. Then I realized she was watching my location on the shared app we used when we lived together. I disabled it immediately. She left notes in my mailbox. Long handwritten letters. Apologies. Memories. Once, she taped a photo of us to my front door with the words, "You were my home," written on the back. She even showed up at my job one day. It was 11:30 a.m., I was on my lunch break, and there she was, standing in the parking lot holding coffee. "I just want to talk," she said. I told her she needed to leave or I'd get security involved. She didn't come back to my job after that. But I found out from Casey that things were falling apart between her and Adrian. Apparently, he didn't like being called exciting once he realized he was just the guy she cheated with. He stopped returning her texts after she showed up at his apartment one night screaming that she left everything for him. I almost felt bad. Almost. But here's where it turns. 3 weeks later, I got a call from my mortgage lender. Someone tried to access my joint account, the one we opened when we bought the house together. She was listed as a co-signer back then because of the down payment help her parents gave us. I never removed her. I should've. The bank flagged the activity. She'd tried to change the mailing address and requested a full loan history. That's when I knew, she wasn't done. She wanted something. Or she wanted to hurt me. I contacted a lawyer the next day. The lawyer I hired, Rick Dunley, was a no-nonsense guy. He looked over the documents, the mortgage, the shared account info, and said one word, messy. Technically, Madeline wasn't on the title of the house anymore. We'd done a quitclaim deed months before to move everything into my name for refinancing purposes. But she was still listed on the original loan paperwork. That meant she couldn't sell it, but she might be able to stir things up legally and make it harder for me. Rick said, she doesn't want the house. She wants control. Leverage. And he was right. Within days, I got an email from a paralegal working with a lawyer in Durham. Madeline had gotten legal help. She was claiming she contributed significant value to the property, her words, through design and labor, and that she should be financially compensated if I kept the house. She even attached photos of the patio lights, garden layout, and her old studio as evidence. It was petty. Insulting. But technically, she had a right to make noise. And if it went to court, I'd be dealing with a long, expensive headache. Rick leaned back in his chair and said, "Want to fight, or want to end this?" "I want to make sure she never tries this with anyone again," I said. That's when things changed. I started documenting everything. Every message, every email, every photo of her stuff that was still in the house. I got a forensic tech guy I knew through work to help me recover deleted messages and phone backups. We found texts between her and Adrian that went back almost 8 months. She'd been stringing me along a lot longer than she admitted. One message from her to him, 6 weeks before the party, said, "He thinks I'm going to say yes. I just want to see how far I can take this before I run." Another one. "He built me a studio. LOL. Guilt gift for being so boring." And the worst one, honestly, if I ever get caught, I'll just cry. He's too soft to do anything about it. That one sat with me. Too soft. She thought I was some emotionally house-trained dog who'd roll over while she spit on everything we built. I forwarded all of it to my lawyer. He smiled and said, "We're not going to court. We're going to end this before it even starts." Rick sent a cease and desist letter to her lawyer, citing harassment, misrepresentation, and malicious intent. He included the screenshots. Within a day, her lawyer backed off and said Madeline had decided not to pursue further action. I was told privately that the messages may have presented legal complications for her if things escalated. Translation: she was caught. But I wasn't done. I didn't want to just make her stop. I wanted her to understand what she'd thrown away. I wanted her to see the consequences hit her from every angle. So I made a decision I never thought I'd make. I told her parents everything. Her father, Warren, called me after getting the full story. He'd been cold to me since the party, probably embarrassed by what happened. But after he read the texts I forwarded, he was quiet for a long time. "This isn't who we raised," he finally said. "I'm ashamed of her." I didn't say anything. Then he added, "You deserved better. You always did." A few days later, her mother reached out too. She apologized. Told me they cut off her credit card and asked her to move out of their Oregon property, where she'd been staying after leaving North Carolina. They said she needed to grow up and stop blaming everyone else. It wasn't revenge yet. But it was a start. Then came the final piece. I was still in contact with Casey, her old best friend. After everything blew up, Casey had distanced herself from Madeline. She told me she didn't want to get caught in the crossfire, but something changed after she heard Madeline bragging to a mutual friend that she'd dodged a bullet by not marrying me. Casey sent me a message one night, "Thought you should know, she's trying to rebuild her brand online. She's calling herself a healing coach now and telling people she was emotionally abused in the relationship." That was it. Madeline had started posting videos online. TikTok, Instagram, even Facebook. Talking about narcissistic exes and escaping emotional control. I was never named, but the timeline, the story, everyone knew who she was talking about. She flipped the script. Painted herself as the victim. I watched one of her videos. She looked straight into the camera and said, "When someone tries to cage your spirit, even with a ring, that's not love. That's control." That's when I knew what I had to do. I wasn't going to fight her with anger. I was going to expose her, with truth. I didn't want to go to war. But I wasn't going to sit and watch her lie to the world about who I was. I built something for her. A home. A life. A future. And she lit it all on fire. So I got strategic. The first thing I did was pull all the recovered texts and photos into one clean, organized folder. I included the party photos, where she was kissing Adrian in the backyard, and the screenshots from her messages trashing me and laughing about leading me on. I added timestamps, dates, and small captions to explain each piece. Then I made a video. Not one of those loud, angry rants. Just me, sitting at my kitchen table, speaking directly into the camera. I said, "This is for the people who've heard a version of me that doesn't exist. I'm not going to scream. I'm not going to insult anyone. I'm just going to show you what really happened." Then I showed everything. The party setup. The ring. The moment I walked out. Then the texts. The cheating. The bragging. The way she planned to use tears to escape blame. I didn't say her full name. But anyone who knew her, followed her, or saw her fake healing coach content would recognize the timeline. I uploaded it to a burner YouTube channel. Titled it, "When Your Stable Boyfriend Finds Out You're Cheating," right before he proposes. I didn't expect much. But in 2 days, it went viral. Tens of thousands of views. Then hundreds of thousands. Then people started sharing it on TikTok and Reddit. I got DMs from strangers saying they saw her videos and always thought something felt fake. A few even said they used to follow her but unfollowed after the truth came out. And then it hit her business. Hard. She had just launched a coaching course for $299 a person. She claimed to help women break free from emotionally repressive partners. But after my video went viral, dozens of people started leaving comments on her page, linking the video, calling out her lies. Screenshots of her text started circulating on social media. It got so bad, she had to turn off comments, delete her videos, and shut down her website. She tried to post a response. It didn't go well. She said, "This is harassment. He's trying to ruin me because he's bitter." But people weren't buying it. Not after the receipts. Not after they saw her laughing about manipulating someone who clearly loved her. Sponsors dropped her. She lost almost 80% of her followers in a week. The final blow? Someone, might have been Casey, might have been someone else, submitted everything to the small gallery that had been planning to feature Madeline's work in a local exhibit. They pulled her spot. Quietly. No statement. Just gone from the flyer. She tried to rebuild under a new name. But the internet doesn't forget. She faded fast. As for Adrian, the exciting one? Well, a few weeks after my video went viral, I got a message from someone who worked with him. Apparently, his bar manager didn't like the attention and found out he'd been sleeping with customers. Violated policy. He got fired. And last I heard, he left town. Packed up and moved to Florida. Good luck down there. And me? Yeah. I made mistakes too. I ignored red flags. I got too comfortable letting someone walk all over me because I thought love was enough. I stayed quiet when I should have spoken up. I let her think I was soft. And maybe I was. But not anymore. After everything, I sold the house. I didn't want the ghosts. I moved into a new place outside Durham. Smaller. Quieter. Just mine. I started lifting again. Not to impress anyone. Just to feel like I could carry my own weight. I went back to school part-time, started working toward a business degree. Something I'd put off for years. And I met someone. Not through apps. Not at a bar. Just real life. Grocery store, of all places. We talk a lot. About boundaries. About honesty. About what happens when people stop showing up for each other. And I don't rush anything. I'm not scared of being boring anymore. Boring is real. Boring shows up. Boring doesn't kiss someone else in the backyard while you're setting up lights. If that makes me boring, I'll take it every damn day.